Some people will ask this question, do you take the Bible literally? How many of you have heard this question? Do you take the Bible literally? And they say it almost in a condescending way. But I think, having studied English literature, a bit of French literature, mainly English, and American literature, I'm going to take a guess that they probably don't really understand what that means. What does that mean? You take something, to take something literally. To take something literally means to apply the same literary standards and rules to the Bible as you would to any other piece of literature. Did you know that? Of course, everyone's very quiet and nodding yes. The Bible contains the common kinds of literature. I think nearly everything except fiction. It is prose and poetry. It's history and prophecy. It contains a love story, a couple of love stories at least, expressly, and also exposition. The Bible employs common literary devices. If you don't know what literary devices are, they're just basically and mainly comparisons. There's so many kinds of linguistic comparisons, and we give them names like analogies, similes. When something is like this or as that, it's a simile. A metaphor. It uses juxtapositions, hyperboles, which are exaggerations or stretching the word. It uses puns. Sometimes the Bible can be funny. Any student of literature should know the difference between all of these literary devices and forms. And I think if you're asking, do I take the Bible literally? Well, there's no other way I would take the Bible. I would apply the standards of grammar and literature to the Bible as I would anything else I've studied. When you do that, it makes sense. When you violate those standards and rules, then it doesn't make sense. Now, the Bible is a bit deeper than other books, a whole lot deeper, because Hebrew itself has added literary dimensions. What do I mean by that? Well, for instance, it has things that we don't really have in English. For instance, it has their letters can represent numbers. That's called gematria. So, for instance, the word pregnancy in Hebrew, if you add up the letters, convert the letters to numbers and add them up, it's 271, and 271 days is the normal gestation period for a human. So that, we believe, is by design because there's so many of these coincidences. Also, their letters can be pictographs, and Chinese students or Chinese speakers would know the Chinese radicals used in Chinese writing are mainly pictographs. So, for instance, when Jesus says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, what he would have said in Hebrew is, I am the Aleph Tav. And the Aleph is a picture of a bull, which represents a leader or a sacrifice. And the Tav, written in the ancient way, is a cross. So when he says, I'm the Aleph Tav, it also suggests he's the sacrifice on the cross. He's the leader on the cross. Is that amazing? So the meaning, the literary meaning is very rich, very deep. So do I take the Bible literally? Of course I do. There's no other way I could appreciate it. It employs anagrams, which means letters. The letters of a word can be rearranged. And it's very complex in Hebrew because they don't use the vowels. So the consonants, if you use the same consonants and you rearrange them, these words give insight to the other words. And a lot of times when a word is simply spelled backwards, it has the opposite meaning. But it's not obvious that it's opposite until you kind of study the Bible. For instance, the word door, which is dalet and resh, is generation. Generation means advancing, progressing. Yeah? But if you reverse it, resh dalet, which is raid, it becomes decline. So in Hebrew, it suggests that we're either moving forward or we're moving backward, but there is no maintaining the status quo. There's no such thing as being static. You're either growing in the Lord and towards the Lord, or you're falling behind and going backwards. It's called backsliding in the Old Testament. So, I'm just giving you a very superficial introduction to this. In English, it would be as though the opposite of big were gib. Okay? But of course, in English, it doesn't work. The opposite of big is small. Yeah? Also, in Hebrew, more so than in any other language, words can be prophetic. And this is going to be relevant when we look at some of the prophecies for America today. In Hebrew, for instance, the word Allah means the curse. So when we read in Isaiah 24, verse 6, the curse has devoured the earth, if we knew the Hebrew, it says Allah has devoured the earth. Things like that we would miss if we don't employ literary standards and understand literary devices. So only by taking the Bible literally as a piece of literature that's intelligently written and should be intelligently read, only then could we really understand and appreciate it. Amen?